Case file. The Dustwalkers. Entry. 7, I think it is. Observer. 15989666920. Location. The High District in the Void Floor. Subject. Target. Delta. Arthur. Target. Bravo. Trixie. Day 3. Mid-morning. The Husk Garden. Survival changes a man. It hardens the skin and sharpens the senses. By the time the sun should have hit the high peaks of the ruins, the party looked different. Bigger, somehow. They walked with the heavy, assured stride of killers who know their trade. They doubled back to the rooftop where they'd abandoned the rival adventurers to the spirits. I expected bodies. I found husks. The spirits hadn't just killed them, they'd eaten their time. The corpses looked like they'd been rotting there for centuries. Leather skin stretched over brittle bone, gear rusted into useless scrap. It was a grim reminder of what happens when you lose a fight in this city. Most people would retch. Arthur, the Qatari, picked one up. He slung the desiccated corpse of a man over his shoulder like a sack of grain. Research, he claimed. I watched through the scope, shaking my head. He's not right in the head, that one. Day 3, the crossing. The street was gone, remember? Just a chasm with a drop that goes on forever. To get back to the forge, they had to improvise. They cobbled together a transport system, ropes, pulleys, and prayer. A fragile umbilical cord stretching across the void. They started the traverse, the wind howling up from the deep, swinging their little basket and Arthur's pet corpse. They reached the other side. A voice called out from the darkness, a challenge. Arthur didn't hesitate. He didn't negotiate. He didn't check to see who it was. He looked at the corpse he had dragged across the gap, the object of his research, and he chucked it over the edge. I watched it fall. It spun silently into the black. Why bring it? Why drop it? Chaos is the only language he speaks. Day 3, the Iron Brotherhood. The forge had new management. The Trixie's Forge sign was gone, replaced by the heavy militaristic stamp of the Iron Brotherhood. These weren't scavengers. They were an army. They wore armor that gleamed with a sickly sheen. Ghost steel. I crept along the upper gantries looking down. It was a sweatshop. The scholar from before was chained to the anvil, forced to unlock the secrets of the metal. The cleric was on her knees, healing mercenaries as they limped in from the dark, keeping them fresh for the meat grinder. It was organized cruelty. Trixie stepped up. She tried to play the diplomat. She tried to wheedle a deal out of the 3 commanders standing guard. It almost worked. Words were being exchanged. Coins were being counted in heads. Then Arthur got bored. He threw a punch. I winced. It was 3 heavily armed commanders and 8 mercenaries against a handful of tired, jagged adventurers. By all rights, this should have been a massacre. I started writing the obituary in my head. Here lie the Dustwalkers, died of terminal stupidity. But the obituary never got written. It was a bloodbath, but not for the party. They moved like a thresher through wheat. The Brotherhood had discipline, but the party had rage. They broke lines, shattered the ghost steel, and turned the forge into a slaughterhouse. When the last mercenary dropped, the silence was deafening. They freed the captives. The scholar, weeping, handed them a censer. Inside sat a porous white stone. I zoomed in with the glass. It wasn't just a stone. It was a soul. A guard who had died defending them, calcified into a fuel source. They lit it. The ghost flame roared to life, casting that pale, dead light. Normal fire dies here. choked by the curse. Only the dead can light the way. Day 3, the descent. They didn't rest. They looked over the edge of the district, down into the true dark where the sound of rushing water echoed. They climbed down past the floating buildings, down past the sanity line. Day 3, the dredgers. The bottom of the world is wet and smells of copper. They landed on a silt bank. The darkness here is absolute, broken only by the sensor's ghostly glow. Ahead, I saw movement. Shapes hunched over a mound of wet, bloating bodies. They were stripping them. Rings, teeth, boots, anything that shined. The dredgers, bottom feeders of the worst kind. Their leader stood up, a man with a scar that split his face in two, speaking with the cadence of an old-world mobster, an accent thick enough to cut with a knife. He looked at the party not as heroes, but as fresh inventory. The party's hands went to their weapons. The dredgers pulled rusted blades from the muck. Down here there are no laws, just the quick and the dead.